My hands trembled as I stood in the soft glow of the Christmas lights I'd spent all morning hanging. Watching the dining room I'd poured my heart into decorating become a battlefield. The man I'd loved for decades, the man I'd built a life with through every storm, had just confessed something that shattered my world. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered, his voice cracking as the woman beside him, his old flame from our youth, the one he swore was just a friend, stared at the floor, her face as pale as the Oregon snow outside. I forced a smile, the kind that hides a hurricane. I'd known the truth for weeks, planned this moment for weeks, and now it was time. I was ready to make them face what they'd done. This is my story, and it's not an easy one to share. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal after a lifetime of trust, if you've carried the weight of a secret in your heart, please subscribe to this channel and walk this path with me. I promise you're not alone. It began 3 months earlier, on September 12th, 2025. That date is etched in my soul. It was our 40th wedding anniversary. I'm Tessa, 65, a retired literature teacher living in a cozy craftsman bungalow in Portland, Oregon. My husband, Julian, 67, was a retired school administrator. The kind of man who could charm you with a story over coffee or leave you a handwritten note that brought tears to your eyes. We'd been married since 1985, together since our early 20s when we met at a church potluck in 1980. I fell for his quiet strength, the way he made me feel like I was the only one in the room. We'd faced it all, raising 2 daughters, surviving the 80s recession, my mother's long battle with Alzheimer's. We were unbreakable. Or so I thought. That September, I'd planned a perfect anniversary. I'd cooked Julian's favorite, slow-roasted lamb with rosemary and garlic mashed potatoes, and set the table with the china we'd bought for our wedding. I wore a deep blue dress, the one he said made my hazel eyes shine, even after all these years. The house smelled of herbs and candle wax, and I'd splurged on a bottle of Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, a nod to our Oregon roots. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. Julian's phone sat on the kitchen counter while he was upstairs changing. I'd never been one to pry. Trust was the bedrock of our 40 years, but the insistent buzzing wore me down. The screen lit up with a name. MK. A message preview flashed. Last night was like old times. When can we? My heart sank. I grabbed the phone, my fingers moving faster than my thoughts. His passcode was our anniversary, 091285. The irony stung like a slap. The messages loaded, each one a dagger. "I can't stop thinking about you," MK wrote. "She doesn't understand you like I do." Julian's replies cut deeper. "I know, I'm figuring it out. I don't want to hurt her, but you're what I've been missing." I scrolled, my breath catching. Photos. MK in a sleek dress at a wine bar. MK and Julian, his arm around her at a place I knew, Pine Street Tavern, where we'd celebrated our anniversaries. The date on the photo, September 5th, a week ago, when Julian said he was at a retiree's poker night. MK was Miranda Kane, his girlfriend from college, before we met. They dated for 2 years in the late 70s, parted ways amicably, or so he had claimed. She was a friend who sent him birthday cards, liked his rare Facebook posts. I never questioned it. Now I saw 6 months of lies, texts, calls, meetups at hotels and bars while I was home, believing we were planning our retirement travels, our golden years. Julian's footsteps creaked on the stairs. I set the phone down, my hands steady despite the chaos inside. He walked in, his warm smile as familiar as ever, and I smiled back. "Happy anniversary, darling," he said, kissing my forehead. His touch felt like a lie. We ate, we toasted, we went to bed. And I lay there, his arm around me, plotting my next move. I wouldn't cry or scream, not yet. I'd be smart. The next week, I became someone new. I checked our bank statements and found charges, $247 at the Rosewood Hotel, $89 at a wine bar, $1,200 at a jeweler for a bracelet I'd never seen. I asked my grandson, Milo, 16, to help me save screenshots of their text to a secret email. He showed me how, no questions asked. I hired a private investigator, Carla, a sharp woman in her 50s who worked out of a small office downtown. She said, "I've seen this too many times," her voice kind but firm. "I'll get you the truth." Carla's report arrived on September 22nd. We met at a coffee shop on Belmont Street. She slid a folder across the table. She said, "It's rough." Inside were photos of Julian and Miranda at hotels, kissing in a car, walking arm in arm. Call logs showed hours of late-night talks. The worst was a lease agreement for an apartment in Miranda's name, dated August 1st, 2025, at 1423 Northwest Glizzen Street, Unit 4B. Julian had co-signed it, using $5,000 from our joint savings, money I thought was for a dream trip to Italy. "There's more," Carla said, handing me a printout from Miranda's LinkedIn. She was a life coach for seniors, running workshops on reinvention in your golden years. Her latest post, dated September 10th, showed a diamond ring with the caption, "Big news, ready for a new chapter." Comments congratulated her, but one caught my eye. "Who's the lushy man?" from her sister. Miranda hadn't named Julian. He couldn't. He was still my husband. The ring wasn't cheap, $8,000, I guessed, from its size. Julian hadn't bought it, I was certain. Someone else had. "She's engaged to another man?" I asked, my voice steady. Carla nodded. Dr. Nathan Brooks, cardiologist, semi-retired, moved to Portland from Seattle last year, proposed to Miranda in July per his Facebook. She showed me Nathan's profile. Distinguished, 68, in a tailored blazer. His posts gushed about Miranda, planning a spring wedding. Miranda was deceiving two men. Julian thought she was his future. Nathan believed he was her fiancé. And me? I was the loyal wife, the obstacle they sidestepped. I thanked Carla, paid her $3,000 fee, and went home. That night I sat in our living room, the Christmas lights, I'd put up early, our tradition, mocking me with their glow. I didn't cry. I planned.
On October 1, Julian came home with an idea. We were eating takeout, pad thai from our favorite spot, and he was restless, fidgeting with his fork. "I was thinking about Christmas," he said. "Maybe we could shake things up, invite more folks, make it a big gathering." My sister, Nora, her husband Ben, and their grandkids, Ella, 9, Milo, 7, and Sophie, 4, were already coming. I raised an eyebrow. "Who else?" He cleared his throat. "I ran into Miranda Kane recently. You remember from college? She's in town, no family nearby. I thought it'd be kind to have her over for Christmas Eve. She's alone this year?" The audacity took my breath away. He wanted his mistress at our table, eating my food, in our home? I sipped my tea, stalling. "Miranda," I said, "your old girlfriend." He nodded too fast. "Yeah, but that's ancient history. Just a friend now, Tess. It's the holidays. We should be generous." I could have thrown the folder at him. Instead, I smiled. "Of course, Julian. If she's alone, she should come. I'll make it unforgettable." His relief was palpable. He squeezed my hand. "You're a gem, Tess. I don't deserve you." "No," I said softly. "You don't." He chuckled, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. That night, I dug deeper. Carla had given me access to Miranda's public calendar through her coaching website. Her security was laughable, using her old high school mascot as a password hint. I found an event for November 10th. Dinner with Nathan's family, official introduction. Nathan didn't know about Julian. I opened my secret email and typed, "Dear Dr. Brooks, you don't know me, but I know your fiancé, Miranda Kane. Ask her about Julian Ward. Ask where she was on September 5th. Reply for proof. Sincerely, a friend." I sent it, my heart racing. The first step was in motion. Nathan replied the next day. "Who is this? What do you know?" I sent a secure folder with texts, photos, and the lease agreement. "I'm sorry," I wrote. "You deserve the truth." He didn't respond for 2 days. Then, "She denied it, called it a mistake. I'm not sure what to believe." I wrote back, I'm Julian's wife. We're still married. Miranda's been with him for 6 months. She's coming to our Christmas Eve dinner, at Julian's request. I propose we confront them together. Join us at 9:30 p.m., 1227 S.E. Division Street. Let's make this a holiday they'll never forget. It was a gamble. Nathan could tip off Miranda, ruin everything. But on October 5th, he replied, "I'm in. They'll regret this." I gave him the side door code, 7391, and told him to wait for my signal. For the next 6 weeks, I played the devoted wife. Julian mentioned Miranda often, testing me. "She loves that new wine bar downtown," he'd say. I'd nod, smile, say, "Can't wait to see her again." He thought he was in control. By mid-November, I'd hired a divorce lawyer, Diane Lee, a formidable woman with a 95% success rate. She reviewed my evidence. She said, "Oregon's no fault, but his spending on the affair, hotels, that lease agreement, gives us leverage. You'll keep the house, most of the savings. Emotional distress could get you more." I didn't care about the money. I wanted Julian to lose what he valued most, his reputation, his lies. On December 10th, Miranda texted Julian. I had Milo help me monitor his phone. "Christmas Eve will be fun. What should I bring?" Julian, "Just you. Tessa's got it covered." Miranda, "She's really fine with this. Not suspicious?" Julian, "She trusts me. You'll be the perfect guest. Your place after?" Miranda, "Can't wait, love." I forwarded it to Nathan. "Stay ready," I texted. "It's almost time." Nora called the next day, her intuition sharp. "You sound off, Tess." I blamed holiday stress. "Julian invited his ex, Miranda, for Christmas Eve," I confessed. Nora's silence was heavy. "His ex? And you're okay with that?" "It's fine. You know, kindness." She scoffed. "I'll be watching her, Tess. One wrong step and she's done." I smiled. Nora's loyalty warmed me. Christmas Eve arrived. I woke up at 5 a.m., adrenaline surging. I wore an emerald dress, the one Julian said made me look timeless, and cooked like a woman on a mission. Roast turkey, cranberry stuffing, sweet potato casserole, pecan pie. Nora, Ben, and the grandkids, Ella, Milo, and Sophie, arrived at noon. Ella hugged me, whispering, "You okay, Grandma Tess?" I kissed her forehead. "Better than ever, sweet girl." We exchanged gifts. Julian gave me a silk scarf. Elegant, costly. I wondered if Miranda had chosen it. I gave him a wrapped box with divorce papers inside, labeled "Open Later." He smiled, thinking it was sentimental. Lunch was warm, filled with the kids' laughter. Nora helped me set the table, 9 places, 1 extra for tradition. Julian didn't notice. At 8 p.m., Miranda arrived. She was striking, blonde, poised, in a red sweater and black slacks, carrying wine and poinsettias. Her engagement ring gleamed. "Tessa, thank you for having me," she said, her smile polished. I took her coat, noting its $300 tag. "Welcome," I said. Julian hugged her, lingering too long. Nora's eyes narrowed. Dinner began at 9. The table was a masterpiece. Candles, crystal, my turkey carved to perfection. Julian raised his glass. "To family, friends, and Tessa's boundless heart." Miranda toasted, her gaze meeting mine. "To Tessa," she said, a trace of mockery in her voice. I smiled. "To truth." We ate, tension simmering. Nora asked Miranda about her work. "Life coaching," Miranda said. "I help people reinvent themselves in their later years." Nora muttered, "Hypocrite," under her breath.
At 9:25, I excused myself to check the pie. In the kitchen, I texted Nathan. "Now." I returned, smiling. "I have a surprise," I said. Julian looked curious. "What's that?" "You wanted a grand Christmas, so I invited one more guest." Miranda's fork froze. Footsteps echoed. Nathan Brooks entered, tall in a dark coat, his face etched with anger. "Miranda," he said, voice low, "fancy seeing you here." She choked on her wine. "Nathan? What?" Julian stood, bewildered. "Who's this?" "This," I said, "is Dr. Nathan Brooks, Miranda's fiancé. Or didn't you know she was engaged?" The room went still. Nora gasped. Ben ushered the kids out. Julian's face paled. "Fiancé?" Nathan's laugh was bitter. "You didn't know? Miranda's been playing us both. I'm her fiancé, you're her fling. And Tessa?" He looked at me. "She uncovered it all." Miranda stood, trembling. "This is a lie! Tessa, what are you doing?" I held up my phone. "Let's see. Text from you to Julian, September 5. I love you, can't wait for our future. Hotel receipt, Rosewood, $247, September 8. And the lease you co-signed, Julian, $5,000 from our savings." Julian sank into his chair. "You knew?" "Since September 12, our anniversary. I saw your texts while you were in the shower." Nora rounded on Julian. "You betrayed my sister. After 40 years? With her?" She jabbed a finger at Miranda. Nathan stepped forward. "And you, Miranda, lied to me for months? I proposed to you, and you're with him." Miranda's voice broke. "Nathan, I love you. This was a mistake." "Enough," Nathan snapped, tossing her ring onto the table. It landed in the cranberry sauce. "We're done." I handed Julian his gift. "Open it." His hands shook as he unwrapped it. The divorce papers spilled out. "Merry Christmas," I said. "You're served." Miranda grabbed her purse, fleeing for the door. Nathan didn't stop her. Julian stared at the papers, then at me. "Why like this, in front of everyone?" "Because I said, you made me feel small, foolish, invisible after 40 years. Now you know how it feels." I pulled out another envelope. "And Miranda, this is a complaint to the Oregon Board of Professional Coaches. Your lies are documented. Good luck with your reinvention career." She froze, then spat. "You're too old to start over, Tessa." I smiled. "Watch me." Nathan left, shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Tessa. You didn't deserve this." Julian stood, broken. "Get out," I said. "The house is mine. Grandma's deed. Check it." He tried to speak, but Nora cut him off. "Leave, or I call the police." He grabbed his coat and left, the door slamming. I collapsed, tears coming at last. Nora held me, whispering, "You're enough, Tess. More than enough." The table was chaos, spilled wine, cold food, a ring in the sauce. But I'd done it. I'd reclaimed my story. 6 months later, June 12, 2026, I stood in my backyard, tending the roses I'd planted after the divorce. The house was mine, redecorated in bright whites and soft greens. No trace of Julian. He'd signed the papers quickly, thanks to Diane's pressure. I kept the house, 70% of our savings, and my dignity. Julian moved to Seattle, teaching part-time at a community college. I heard he tried to reach Miranda, but she cut him off. Miranda's coaching business crumbled after the board's investigation. Her certification was revoked for unethical conduct. She moved to Idaho, working at a boutique. Nathan and I met for coffee now and then. "You saved me," he said once. "I almost married a liar." He was seeing someone new, taking it slow. I started a memoir workshop, teaching others to tell their stories. I walked every morning along the Willamette River, 3 miles to clear my mind. Therapy with Dr. Lisa Chen helped me navigate the grief, the anger, the rebuilding. She said, "You're not broken. You're reborn." Nora and the grandkids visited often. Ella made me drawings, calling me Super Grandma Tace. A woman emailed me one day. "I'm Kate. I dated Julian after you. Found your divorce records online. Thank you for exposing him. I'm free now." I replied, "You're stronger than he'll ever know." My story spread, first quietly, then loudly. Women wrote to me, inspired to reclaim their lives in their 60s and 70s. I started a blog, Truth After Time, sharing my journey. It went viral, gaining 10,000 followers in a month. I was writing a book, The Christmas Reckoning, pouring out every raw moment. That June evening, I sat on my porch, the roses blooming bold and red. A year ago, my heart had been shattered after 40 years of trust. Now I was whole. Not the same, but stronger, scars and all. The Christmas lights I'd kept up gleamed against the dusk, a reminder of the night I took back my life. I'd burned my old world down, but from the ashes, I'd built something true. Julian thought he could break me. He was wrong. At 65, I was fire, and I was free. What did you think of my story? Have you faced betrayal and found strength in your later years? Share in the comments. I'd love to hear your heart. If my journey moved you, subscribe to the channel for more stories like mine. Stay with me. You're not alone.